For pretty much all of human history, we've looked up at the stars and wondered, what's our place in all of this? But just in the last century, a very, very small number of people got to do something no one had ever done before. They got to look back down. And what they saw, well, it didn't just change them. It had the power to change all of us. This is the story of an incredible cognitive shift called the overview effect. And it really all started with just a few simple, awestruck words. Back in 1961, when Yuri Gagarin became the very first human to go to space, his first reaction wasn't about the rocket or the mission or the Cold War. It was just pure beauty. This was our first clue that seeing our world from the outside was going to be a deeply, deeply transformative experience. I mean, think about it. For thousands and thousands of years, our perspective was totally locked to the ground. We looked out at the horizon, we looked up at the sky. But spaceflight flipped that script completely. All of a sudden, we had this God's eye view that no human in history had ever laid eyes on before. This experience kept happening. Astronaut after astronaut came back changed. It was so consistent, so profound, that it eventually got a name. In 1987, a space philosopher named Frank White called it the overview effect. He'd interviewed dozens of astronauts and realized, wait a minute, they're all describing the exact same thing, a fundamental change in how they see our planet, humanity, and even themselves. So what is this shift really like? What does it actually feel like to see everything you've ever known, every person you've ever met, as a single beautiful object, just floating in the darkness? Let's dive into what these astronauts keep telling us. Well, it seems to boil down to these three massive world-changing realizations. First is a sense of unity. From up there, you don't see borders or countries. You just see one single living system. Second, fragility. You see just how delicate our little home is, this tiny blue oasis in a seemingly infinite void. And finally, interconnectedness. You get this overwhelming feeling that we are all in this together, on this one spaceship sharing one single fate. And this right here really lays it out perfectly. It shows you the before and after. Down here, our world is full of borders, divisions, and conflicts. But from orbit, none of that exists. Those lines we draw on maps, from up there, you realize they're just made up. They're not real. It's one shared home and one shared destiny. It's an incredibly powerful and humbling thing to see. Okay, so there's one image that almost every astronaut talks about. It's this incredibly powerful visual of the thin blue line. It's that paper-thin layer of our atmosphere. You can see it glowing this brilliant blue against the absolute total blackness of space. And that right there, that's the fragility in a nutshell. That little glowing sliver, that's everything. It's this delicate, vulnerable membrane, and it's the only thing that separates all life as we know it from the lethal, empty vacuum of space. When you see that with your own eyes, you understand just how precious and how fragile it really is. And nobody, I mean nobody, put this feeling into words better than Carl Sagan. When the Voyager 1 spacecraft looked back and took a picture of Earth from billions of miles away, he called it the pale blue dot. He urged us to look at that tiny speck and remember that everyone you love, everyone you know, every war ever fought, every piece of art ever created, it all happened right there. It just puts everything into perspective, doesn't it? Right, so here's the kicker. An experience this huge, it doesn't just fade away when you land. It fundamentally changes you. The people who have this experience, they come back transformed. They're not just astronauts anymore. They're basically ambassadors for the entire planet. I mean, just listen to what Apollo 14 astronaut Edgar Mitchell had to say about it. An instant global consciousness. He says you feel this intense dissatisfaction with how things are and a compulsion to do something about it. That's not just a nice idea. It's a driving force that gets hardwired into you. So you can almost map out the journey they go on. First, you're hit with this sense of pure awe and wonder. That feeling forces you to completely reevaluate what's important to you. From there, you start to develop this bigger global consciousness, which finally grows into this powerful need to speak for the Earth, to advocate for it. But here's the amazing part. This feeling didn't stay locked up in the astronaut core. Thanks to their stories, and maybe even more importantly, the photos they brought back, this overview effect started to leak out into the whole world. You can see how it happened right here on this timeline. It starts with Gagarin. Then comes the game changer in 1968, the Earthrise photo from Apollo 8. The first time humanity saw our own planet as this beautiful, colorful orb rising over the moon. Just a few years later, Apollo 17 gives us the blue marble, the first picture of the full sunlit Earth. For the first time, all of us back on the ground could get a little taste of what they were feeling up there. And wow, was the impact huge. These weren't just pretty pictures. They became global icons. They helped spark the modern environmental movement because suddenly we had a picture of exactly what we were trying to save. The single, fragile, beautiful home we all share. Okay, so let's bring it to the present day. What does this all mean for our future? For the longest time, this experience was only for a super exclusive club of government astronauts. But that's all starting to change. We're now entering the age of commercial space tourism. And the big promise, the big idea is that we can democratize the overview effect. The hope is that if more people can see this view, it will lead to more positive change back here on Earth. But hang on a second. This brings up a really tough and really important question. If this experience is basically a form of enlightenment, if it creates this powerful global consciousness, what does it mean for our world if it's only available to the super rich? And that really gets to the heart of the matter, doesn't it? The real challenge isn't just sending more people to space. It's about bringing that perspective, that sense of unity and fragility down to Earth for everyone, whether they leave the planet or not. Which leaves us with one last big question to chew on. If most of us are never going to see that thin blue line for ourselves, how do we do it? How do we live by the lessons of the overview effect without ever leaving the ground? Maybe the real final frontier isn't out there at all. Maybe it's right here, in figuring out how to see our own world and each other with brand new eyes.